finishing the project isn't the main objective. Instead, it's about teaching young people how to work with sheet metal, fabric skin covering, the installation and proper rigging of the flight controls, weight and balance calculations are all a critical part of building an aircraft. A licensed airframe and power plant mechanic inspector will oversee the project. Last page. How about this? Some of the kids came for a year, some made 5 years. No commitments were necessary. We adults learned from the kids how busy they are at school with sports, dance, plays, music, etc. So we lost some of them now and then for these other programs, and you just get used to it. Often one of the adults would park his plane out front in the summer, long summer evenings, and we'd take kids for rides. Kind of split them away one at a time, take them up for 20 minutes, and then put them back to work. But that was smiles all around. Now that we're done with the project, we're interested in another project. Our project leader suggested that we find something with instructions this time. And he also said that after 11 years, we should look for another project leader. So he put an awful lot into it. He's the vice president of our chapter. And while I'm the current president, I would tell everybody on Wednesday nights I work for Jim. And I was one of the mentors on that project. Our EAA founder once said that volunteers don't work for pay, they work for praise. I think that's a good thing to remember in all these organizations, is you got to thank people for coming out and stepping up. Or that, what else have I got but seeing a thank you. Okay, so scholarships. We have a Lucas Hansen Award we've had since the 80s. And we were giving it out to kids just for a letter, just for the best letter of what aviation means to them and where they'd like to go. And then we had 3 people evaluate the letters, and we would get that advertisement for that out to the universities and the high schools and all the airports. That seemed like the best place to look for people interested in a little extra money. This one was only $500 one time. Actually, they could get it again later if they applied. But yeah, it was small gift. What I was going to say is, I don't think we ever had more than 3 at a time apply. All over the region, it felt like we were advertising, and you weren't getting any applications. And Betty Ramsland, who was running that program at the time, she could go back to schools, seeing if this thing's on the bulletin board or anything, and it never got passed along very well, that she could tell. So actually, that scholarship is just laying in wait for somebody to head it up again. She's had to move on to other things. Then we have a Ray Scholarship Award that is no small thing at all. We've had that for 6 years. And the first 3 years, we gave the $10,000 scholarship to these kids. And it got them through the private pilot course with change left over to do some flying afterwards, fly their family, fly mom and dad, that kind of thing. That was fun. And then we actually were able to pass some money on and so store it in our account for the next guy if he needed more. Well, the first 2 got through with change left over that we could pass on if we needed to. The third one needed it. And then the fourth one, they bumped it up. The Ray Scholarship Foundation bumped it up to $11,000. And that wasn't enough with inflation. And then the last 2 get $12,000. and they're finding that tough to complete in 70 hours. That's about the average now. So it's pretty expensive to fly these days. In comparison, and these aren't fair. I don't like to ever look back and say, remember how cheap that was? And I say, remember how little money you made? You know, it was, yeah, ratio-wise, when I was learning how to fly, the car gas was 49 cents a gallon. And the avgas was 97 cents a gallon, about twice as much. Now, if I could say car gas was $3 a gallon, $6 a gallon is pretty easy to find on car gas. I mean, it's an average, but it's out there. Anywhere from $5.50 to go to California, you might be paying $9 a gallon. So it's all relative. It's climbing like crazy, but hopefully the wages will start keeping up, right? So the scholarship programs we have to help you in this last 11 years, we had a beautiful class going on for kids, and we're looking for another one now. So I guess that's all I've got on working with kids, and I hope some pictures are running. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is pretty good. You get there. I've got a beard in the background, and in other pictures I don't. See what's changed over 11 years. I brought. I know some of you are curious about my own personal flying. I brought my visual logbook there. Those are the flights we've done. I just went back in my logbooks years ago and started moving those numbers from my logbook to this map.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty fun to look at and help me remember the stuff I've done with the planes.
Do you want to go over and like talk about some of your favorite trips or anything like that?
If there's help with that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do to bring us over there.
I can do that.
I'll try it. All right.
Well, so after we bought the first plane, I got comfortable with it for about a year. Yeah, and about a year old. My son was about a year old when we had the daycare person take care of him for a week. And Beth and I took off. We had to wait a couple of days for weather to pass. And this weather, if you could imagine, this is the ride to Bahamas. Our first long cross country was one of the biggest ones we've ever had. These are equal to it. These out to California. We went out to Lutra Island in the Bahamas, and then took a ferry boat to Harbor Island. Stayed there about 3 days, and then headed back. You leave U.S. airspace, and you have to time your re-entry into it. Call the right people in Florida, and then go through customs back in Florida. That was a very good experience. And once you do the really long ones, you can do stuff. You can do stuff. So looking at it kind of upside down here. Oh, okay. This was a ride out to California to a family reunion. Most of my stuff is family related or something special's going on that I want to see. This family reunion out here at Newport Beach. And then I flew some family out to Catalina Island while we were there. And on the way, we went on a VFR route, a visual flight rules route that's designated through the Grand Canyon. And, got to see that on the way. Over here was a trip to Boston to see the 200th anniversary of the USS Constitution ship sail for the first time. It's about 19 20-something, I think, there was a restoration thing around saving pennies and a thing all over the country that funded the restoration of that ship at Sail Aboard. And so when I took my dad out, and he flew out to Duluth and then we got and flew to Boston. We had to stop for weather. We got a bank of weather here. You have to fly through Canada on this line. Canada border drops down there. And I had to land in Canada without making advanced reservations because I didn't know what was going to happen. So I landed there, and there's a phone, called customs, and actually it wasn't a customs airport either, but there was a number there for it. And the guy came on the line, and I told him, we had to land for weather, and he says, "What are you doing there?" I said, "Well, I'm on my way to Boston," and so I couldn't make a reservation. He says, "Well, I'm not coming out there. Have a good day." Canada, they're pretty nice people. This was a family reunion here, North Carolina. Got to fly over to the Wright brothers' first flight, Kill Devil Hills. That was fun. Went to an air show down here in Florida and flew across Florida to go see the Ark of Duluth. They were building a replica there. And I helped build a replica of Ark of Duluth here from 2008 to 2014. I think we worked on that 5 days a week, 7 hours a day for free. And so that was a good time building that. It flew once. It's in the museum in Oshkosh now. It's beautiful there. So I have a son in New Mexico. New Mexico. What am I doing here? Upside down on that. Down here. It's a New Mexico trip. Teresa and I made. Food.
My best advice: don't eat a greasy hamburger.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
In Kansas, if you're going around to New Mexico.
This was a beautiful ride down the front range of the Rocky Mountains. Off my wingtip at 14,000 feet was one of the mountain peaks. It's a beautiful ride going down there. Landing after dark in the valley, coming around the mountains and landing after dark in the valley. Son's waiting for me with his car.
We got stuck in Detroit 2 years ago at Thanksgiving due to ice.
Oh yeah. There's some adventures in this stuff. It's just that's part of it though. I mean, it really is part of it. Solve problem solving and dealing with weather. The Detroit area was really high traffic, but the airport we went into wasn't. It's a little runway, but we left the plane there for a week and came back to it covered with snow and ice, and scratched our heads for a while to figure out how to get the ice off the thing, and finally warm water was the answer.
I got it.
In a towel. We got it all off. It just came off really easy, and then dried it off so it wouldn't refreeze. And then the airport manager is helping us with this, and her brother was helping us with this. And he says, "You ready to go now?" And I said, "No, I just poured water all over my flight controls. I'm going to go fly it first, and then we'll come back and go." And I flew it around, and the pitot tube that reads airspeed froze. So I was climbing out, and I was watching my airspeed drop and zero. And they train all this, and every 2 years I have to practice this: flying without airspeed, flying without gyro work.
And he's very safe. I feel very safe. No parachute.
And safety is being safe is all to me. It's always history. It doesn't forecast the next event, the next flight. You have to make that a safe flight too. You can't relax on that part. So you do everything you can, reasonably, maintain the plane well. I maintain the plane and A&P inspects my work. A&P stands for Airframe and Power Plant license. So I'm inspected by a certified inspector. And he typically says I can go anywhere in your plane. So, and my inspections go long, unbelievably long, but there's no labor cost in for the inspector at the end, so I could do nice work on it, not worry about costs so much.
Keep trying to work on the angle here.
Oh,
What was your scariest experience?
what was my scariest experience?
In an airplane, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good
Thank you.
clarification.
Yeah, did my head go to airplane right away? In the context of this, I guess. Yeah. Well, let's see. Probably weather has been responsible for some experiences. I've had to kind of race weather. The technology in these planes, even in my plane, is amazing. I got a screen this big. I can see weather. I can see it coming toward my path. So I've had to time that now and then, or do the best I could to time it. And then there's alternate airports, so you have some options. But there was one day, Teresa and I were returning from the other end of the lake. Help me. City at the other end of the lake? Sault Ste. Marie. College graduate over there. So we were coming back, and on the screen we're watching this weather march towards Duluth. And we got but there was other weather along there too, and it all stopped right at the shoreline. So we just flew along the shoreline all the way back. It dips in and out, but you can pretty much follow it all the way back. And then it was just getting over the Superior Airport. That's where I keep the plane. And it was just turn out, away from it over the water, and descend, and come in underneath of it. And I got back, and one of my club members pulled Therese and I with the tow bar on the plane back into the hangar. We didn't get wet at all. It was pretty fun. That was scariest one.
Okay.
That was just an interesting way that worked out. The plane goes I cruise at about 180 miles an hour.
Ooh.
So it's not like it's easy to outrun weather. Turn around and go back, and make U-turns, you don't fly through it. I don't fly through stuff I can't see through.
Yeah.
So, I was coming back last year from, what was I? I don't know which trip that was, but might have been Oshkosh. And I was having to go up and down, go over clouds, go under clouds that were high enough to legally go under. And it's going up and down, and when you change altitude, you have to adjust the mixture on the plane. And I've done it so many times, and I forgot about it. And I forgot about it on the last one. And I got down lower, the engine started running off, well, get enough gas. I didn't figure that out. It was just running rough. So I made I diverted to the closest airport, like 5 minutes. Close, so made that landing and came to a stop, and the engine stopped.
Oh.
What the heck? And I looked down, and that mixture control was pulled back. Pushed it forward, and everything was fine again.
Oh, gosh.
It was pilot error. That was probably concerning. You know, a little concerning. Yeah. But I've done things in it that I'm very comfortable with the plane, and I've shut it down on purpose 5 times in flight up high. I did that over the Two Harbors Airport. West of it was a nice area to do that.
Wait, so what do you mean?
I shut the engine off.
For
The
why?
wing, huh?
Why?
I wanted to know how it handled.
I see.
If you
Okay,
can do
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fair
okay.
enough, huh? I want to know how the thing really handles. You can read about it all you want in the book, but what actually happens?
Well, what if it didn't handle well?
Well, no, I know that about it. Aerodynamics, you know. You take off, my plane lifts off at 70 miles an hour, and when it lifts off, that's what it's as solid in what it's doing as if it was still on the ground at 40 miles an hour, or your car. I mean, it's science that's going to lift that up, right, at that speed. They can do that math now, and calculate it, and change the wing shape, and do whatever you want, and fly it. So I go up there, and I wanted to know how it glides, really. Does it glide, like if the propeller's still spinning, and it's a 6-foot diameter, that's calculated at a flat plate for drag. If that air is going through there and turning that prop and turning that engine to high compression, it's a high compression engine, working hard to turn it, it turns out to be equal, like that tabletop right there, flying into the air. That's a lot of drag. So they want you to, the best glide is to have the prop stop. So I learned things that the book didn't say. For instance, if I slow to 70, at 74 miles an hour, my prop stops turning, and I get to a better climb. Get a nice climb, 2 miles per 1,000 feet. Then, if I wanted to spin the prop and start it by windmilling it instead of the electric starter, I have to go to 175 miles an hour to get it to start. Well, if you're already gliding at 120 miles an hour at best glide, you're dipping the nose about this much to get to 175 and start again, making it start that way. So I know how to start it in flight now with the key or with just airspeed. And to know that is a pretty nice feeling. Know how this plane works in this situation.
Is that a common practice?
No,
Okay.
no, it's not. It's a common practice not to know that. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of pilots won't have anything to do with that. And I'm thinking, really? You know, you don't want to know that. So I did that. But what I did, it wouldn't have taken 5 times. If I was a test pilot, it wouldn't have taken 5 times to learn some of the things I learned. But
I think Mr. Munger has a question.
I forgot it. No, all of us at some time or other have probably had the desire to want to fly a plane down. What motivated you to do that for the first time? And tell us a little bit what it's like to fly alone, all by yourself, in a small plane like that. It just seems like it would be an awesome experience.
well, it depends on what you're doing. Coming back, I have some beautiful memories of sunsets alone, flying in that plane. It was just beautiful. Flying through clouds, flying through the mountains and the clouds. You know, these little things you see up in the air, you go up and they'll have features like tunnels and like valleys you can fly through. Done that with people on board too. It's really beautiful. And you can't do it anywhere else, you know?
would like to know what got you interested in flying in the first place?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure, because I was pretty young. In first grade, me and my neighbors stood up. What'd you do this last summer? Well, we didn't have much to say, but we said, next summer we want to build an airplane. We were little kids, you know. Well, of course, that didn't work out, but I was drawing pictures of airplanes as a kid and building models and then building flying models. And, you know, the tethered ones go around, circle with, and then then there's a whole sport of free flight where you have no control. And you build these planes that will circle up. They circle because of the torque in the engine, and the engine quits, and then they come right back down. And the skill is to get them balanced back closer. No wind day. They'll do that.
There was nobody in your family who was a pilot or...
That's the other thing. There wasn't until I was late teenager. Maybe I was in the Air Force when my uncle took it up, and he inspired me more. But I was on my way to that anyway, and didn't know it. There was a flyer on the bulletin board that finally did it at work at the jet engine shop in the Air Force. It said, learn how to fly for $15.80 a month. And that turned out to be a credit union loan for $850, which would get you through that. And they had, it was called, they had an organization in the Air Force, they still do, called MWR. And that's Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. So every base that the military has MWR, and they have all kinds of stuff in this warehouse. You can, build sailboats, and they may have an agreement with a local sailboat entity where you can rent big ones for very cheap. Or they had airplanes. They learned how to fly in Merced, California for.
How differently does your plane handle when you have a passenger?
Would you mind just saying that one more time?
Go ahead and answer that.
How differently does the plane handle when you have a passenger?
Very little. But on the other hand, they're very sensitive to weight. But when the person in this two-seat I have sit next to me, it doesn't change the balance that notably at all. When I had a four-seater and when I had a six-seater for a time, for most of the time, that's different. You got to plan the weight and balance, and you have a trim for that. If you have weight in the back, you have a trim wheel that adds down pressure, up pressure in this case, if you want to compensate for weight behind you. And it gets you back to light controls you can let go of. Now that doesn't happen if your 4-year-old is sitting in the fifth seat and decides to move forward to the middle row for a little while, and then move back on your way into Canada, and then move back again, and then you get there in Canada and you've been playing with this trim all the time, wondering what's going on, and then my wife said, David was getting really buggy. He kept going back and forth from one seat, and then I knew, right, well, that's what I was doing. I was having to adjust the trim for this kid moving around in the plane.
Okay, so we've got one more question here, I think, and then we'll.
You have been working on an airplane for a long time. Is it finished now?
The plane with the kids?
No, well, the one that you've been working on.
Yeah, the Wednesday night version, yeah. We took it, the thing was, we'll take it to for the new owner can pick his engine. That's a very personal thing. It could be 100 horse up to 200 horse, and everything in between. There's a lot of options. Leave them that option, and the instrument. So I put instruments in, let him choose those. You might want a big TV screen, you might want He might want the 1946 steam gauges, they call them, and the paint job. He can pick his own paint job there. And he gets the
flown?
Has it flown? Well, it doesn't have it.
Oh, those things aren't in yet?
Those things aren't in yet. So and our local A&P mechanic that services the airport there has offered to complete it. So the new owner has left it with us. So we pulled the wings off to store it over on the side of the hangar. And when Brennan at 100 octane aviation has time, he'll get on it. That's his favorite thing to do, is restore our airplanes. He says these annual inspections on planes are boring. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh, so we'll have to come back and have another forum when you get that thing that's ready to
Well,
fly.
it belongs to someone else now.
Well,
But yeah, it's
yeah.
there. I don't know how much we'll see of it, but
I
yeah,
guess-
we'd like to see it done.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and surely you'll get to fly it, right?
No.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, yeah. So that's.
Okay, one last thing. The
Yeah.
Experimental Aircraft Association chapters are not allowed to own a flying airplane just because we are a division of a large deep pockets organization. They could be sued out of their shorts.
Oh. Okay.
So they don't allow the clubs to own a plane. You can get several people in a club to buy a plane and have buy a plane from us that we built, but it has to be disconnected. There'll be a sort of these members own the plane we once built.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. I love it when we can have UUCD members be right here and a forums member, no less, who can actually share their passions. And so thank you so much for sharing your passion for flight today.